for your beautiful name. We are recording. So today, in honor of Rockford's art scene, which is happening this weekend on Friday night and Saturday night, we decided that we would take this opportunity to celebrate all of the amazing artwork that Belleville Prairie has inspired throughout the last year, as we've all been working to fight to protect it. And so we've had a lot of really awesome forms of art that I didn't even know exist show up that are all amazing. And so we're going to have some folks talk about that, and also the intersection between art and action steps, which has been super amazing to see. So yeah, I hope you all enjoy this slightly more fun than normal, in my opinion, public meeting. I'll pass it over to Rob, who's going to talk about some of the artwork we have seen.
Hey, thanks. I'll assume that the slides will just advance and we'll just click through them. Is that cool?
That is.
All right. So yeah, since Bell Bowl became under threat, the response from folks to make audacious comments on it with art and performance pieces and poetry and this giant bee puppet has been really great. I've been really moved by the passion that people bring to wanting to save the prairie, and it's been astonishing. And so we have a lot of art that has been made, and this picture here is by someone who's with us tonight, who I would say has created the most art, not just for Bell Bowl, but for all artists. But she made a ton of Bell Bowl Prairie art, and a lot of it was directed at creating action and change and education and getting people to light a fire under their tuchus. And so I asked Liz if she could come here tonight and talk, and there's her website if you want to see just how prolific she is. So this image here, I feel like, was the most effective image that came out of the early days of the Save Belleville Prairie movement. Liz, can you talk about this image?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Liziana Kozik. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm coming to you live from Naperville, Illinois. Super exciting place. And, I started out in the arts, and slowly I've been more and more involved in the sciences. And I realize how much is, if you know how to read a photograph or a landscape, super easy. But, our audience, the type of people we're trying to reach, we could have just shown them this photograph unaltered and been like, nah, can't you see the problem? But my goal is always to make my art useful and try to simplify and clarify so that we could spread our message clearly and invite everyone into the conversation.
Yeah, and I feel like this one, I had lots of non-nature nerds be like, oh, this is what I didn't know what the airport was. I didn't understand why this is a big deal. And so this sort of this tells the entire story really well, really easily. And the old road goes to the same dang place. Is how we all sort of feel all the time. Maybe dang isn't the 4-letter word that is in our hearts, but it's been frustrating. And this sort of demonstrates that frustration while also still being functional as a map to understand and beautiful because of the choices of style. So is there another Liz image after this one? I forget.
Yeah, I think there's this one and then one more slide.
Great. So look at this. These are real pretty. On the left there is the 120 species of prairie plants that have been documented at Bell. And that's another really great encapsulation to sort of show people what it is we're talking about. I'll say real quick that someone from the airport was doing a slideshow, not unlike this one, and he showed a picture of like turf grass and was like, this is what everyone's chirping about, and made everyone think that we're all like mad because you're going to be getting rid of like a football field. So Liz,
Cool.
yeah, what do you think that the art that you make, or art in general, what role does that have in changing people's minds? And like, how can beauty make the world a better place, a more just place?
Some days I'm not convinced that's the case, but at the very least, I took this particular, the many species project on as kind of an impulse, being like, oh, how many could there be? I mean, it's just a list of plants. I've got a spreadsheet from a couple scientists. I'll just throw it together, and I don't know. Especially there's a video version that is the process of me drawing this.
It's awesome.
And just the time it took to draw that many species not only helped me understand the level of diversity, but also I hope some of that gets communicated. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to convince people to care, but I can make things that I care about, and hopefully some of that gets conveyed. And definitely, I think a lot about data visualization in my process. And this is data. Like, what I'm looking for is, oh, I have the spreadsheet this came from somewhere on my desk, where it's just like lists and lists of plants. Like, you could show that list of plants at, advocating for the prairie at a talk. It's just a lot of letters on a page, but it's something, and you could take a photograph of the prairie, but something that images allow me to do is to show us cross-seasonally everything in bloom, because in reality, we've got like the earliest of spring plants in the bottom left-hand corner, all the way up to late summer in the upper right-hand corner.
Wait, you went through the growing season in this picture too?
I mean, as I got further on, because technically I put all the shrubs on top because they tend to be like background, but otherwise I did attempt to follow some sort of seasonality. But
you're making it too hard on yourself. No, it's great. That's really awesome.
Let me tell you, I did make this too hard on myself. It took forever. Oh my gosh. But we, like I was saying in the previous image, we assume we can convey complexity through photographs, but the reality is that's just one perspective, and from that distance you can't see everything, and there's no moment in time where all of these plants are in bloom or neatly lined up one at a time. And so that was sort of my goal with this one.
I would say mission accomplished.
Thank you.
And then what, can we go to the next one there? So Liz has also very generously let us use her images, and let anyone use her images who are doing this fight to convey these messages. And they do make real pretty protest signs. And yeah, I think that someone has a dog. I think that for me, what your work does is it makes something completely overwhelming feel not only approachable, but fixable. And I think that that is a great thing that you're able to accomplish. I'm wondering, what is it like writing for activism versus, or drawing for activism and writing for activism than it is just making, a landscape picture or a diagram for a gardening book, which you've done a lot of?
I honestly find it hard to not have a and therefore you should, because a lot of the work I do has been about educational comics about the environment, especially in our region, and to just be like, oh, here's a nice story about things, here's just some stuff, isn't this cool, is sort of always leaves me hanging, where it's like, okay, I've gotten this audience, I've educated this audience, now what can they do about it? And so usually my what can you do about it is just like, oh, donate to this biodiversity or go to this restoration project. But Bubble is pretty straightforward, which is great. Giving people concrete action to do something about the things they love is, I don't know. We live in a very complicated world, and this, at least in this case, it's a pretty straightforward thing, relatively.
Yeah. Did you learn anything about yourself and about the Prairie in all the work that you produce for Bell Bowl?
As an artist, especially in certain circles, there's a sense of
There's
competition.
an arrow next to mute on the left hand.
There's a sense of competition, or like, oh, I got to be the one person to corner this market. And I am so glad to say, the older I get, the more I'm like, oh my God, please, will someone else come do this with me? Can someone else please draw Prairie too? I would love to distribute out. And thank the Prairie. So many wonderful people came in and added their artwork to the conversation and added support. And so, you know what? You don't need to have, it's not a good thing to have only one person doing this. Everyone should participate.
And you also don't have to be a brilliant, genius, beautiful artist, exactly like Liz, to exert your soul in a way, because that's the thing about the remnant Prairie, is it is hard to look at and to show a photograph of and get people to see it in the way that it needs to be seen. You have to use like the magic of art, the sort of like the way beauty scrapes at the subconscious in order to get people to put these things together, because it's what's so great about the Prairie is not for humans' enjoyment. It's not for our, it wasn't designed for us to think it was beautiful. It was designed to be a locus of dynamic equilibrium or something. So anyway, all that to say, I feel like for this group and for folks doing action in general, you've done a great job of making it seem like we have to do more than just yell on the phone or share facts to Wikipedia pages. What are you working on now?
Dissertation, getting my PhD, and so that is right now I'm very deep in pawpaws.
Deep in pawpaws.
Deep in pawpaws. It's a good life. It smells great. But all of this is I think the part that I want to add is just like, everyone has a special skill, and whatever your skill is, you can add to the conversation. You don't necessarily need to become the best at every single aspect of projects like this. You can just do the thing you're real good at and embrace the fact that other people have other expertises, and we can work together.
Well, I totes agree. We're going to keep showing more art and talking about more artists, but could everyone clap for Liz Anakozik, and also people on Zoom do the jazz hands? I've been playing the mute button whack-a-mole for a little bit. Folks, try not to unmute yourself unless you have the opportunity to speak, which we will have. So thank you so much, Liz. I am going to share your website again. Everyone should give her $100 right now.
Buy her stickers, they're all really fun.
Yeah, they're really good stickers. It's just beautiful stuff. Okay, so we have these custom signs here for the protests and the different action events that we've had. Ellen Rathbone, is she moving? Is that true?
Yeah, she's in New York State now. And we're really sad about it.
Yeah, but look at all this stuff that she's made, and also in the sort of spirit of like May Watts and Liz Kozik, creating complicated ideas that are approachable and makes everyone feel like they're participating in them. And so it's really beautiful stuff. We'll click forward here. And then where is it? Who made this? Was it just Rising Tide are the ones who are credited with making the leafy prairie clover?
I think so, yeah. There was a couple people specifically from Rising Tide who worked on it. But this is just like my favorite picture ever of someone holding up their dog in the prairie clover. I looked for so long to find that picture and I finally found it. So thank you to whoever took it. I don't know who took it, but you're my best friend.
Yeah, it's really good. I also like the photo bomb of the Rusty Patch Bumblebee there. Save our pollinators, very beautiful, very simple, but it boils down a very complex message. Oh yeah, image features guitarist, vocalist Miles Nielsen, whose father and brother are in Cheap Trick. So that is adjacent to greatness right there. But if anyone knows Cheap Trick, please get them to tweet about it. Yeah, so let's go to the next. I mean, I don't have to like interpret this for you, but this is really great. And once again, you can see the ways in which art allows you to change the way you enter a space and the way you see a space. Yeah. Here's a poem. Should I read it?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
The delay makes me think I shouldn't. All right. Have you ever seen a rusty patch bumblebee bumbling about a gravel prairie? Bell Bowl is her sanctuary. Alone in the world, it seems. Not many left, like Carolina anemone. Dragon wormwood is almost gone. How could we have gotten this so wrong? As long as our queen is endangered, these errors will be remembered. In 60 years, what do you think the people will say? That man destroyed the prairie, or that man led the way? Set an example for people like you to do the right thing when they have to choose. Can you tell me, will all our children ever get to see a rusty patch bumblebee? So thank you, Janet. Yeah, big snaps. That's good. Gail, who's here, designed this beautiful t-shirt, which you could still buy, I believe, right?
I think so. I think it's officially up for 2 more days.
Oh.
So buy your t-shirts now, folks.
Get it now. Go next one. Oh my goodness, look how cute that is. And yeah, that's super cute. Obviously, children should always be in pictures of things. Here we go. Sorry, my daughter is taking a bath in the background and screaming. Very beautiful stuff. These yard signs, very bold, very attention grabbing. I think we really want to get those out there as much as possible. And the next one. Student artwork, uncredited students.
Yeah, these are students from Laura Stamp's 8th grade class, I believe. I could be wrong.
Laura, who made these? You there, Laura?
Yes, these were made by 2 students. One was an 8th grader and one's a 6th grader. The bee picture is a 6th grader, and she wrote the poem too. And then an 8th grader wrote the the other poem and made the graphic.
It's really good.
Thank
It's really good.
Mhm.
I'm gonna keep playing mute whack-a-mole. All right, next. Oh, and yeah, we've talked to these folks from Pontiac High School, Pontiac Township High School. And Olivia, are you here?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hey, you did the painting on that postcard.
I did. Yes. Yes.
Why did you do that?
So I'll have to take it back a little bit.
Please.
I was in a dual credit environmental science class at Pontiac, and that class was kind of known for doing crazy, wild things. For the amount of time that I've lived there, Mr. Ritter knows the formula to make kids make change. So we were approached either late fall of 2021 or early spring 2022, the time when I was in that class, and by people from Bell Bowl saying, hey, this is an issue, you need to know about it, you need to get your class to do something about it, because we've done so many things I can't even explain how many years of students have gone through his program and done crazy things. So we were approached, we decided we wanted to do something, and I have to give credit where credit is due. A group of students 2 years before had done postcards for a separate campaign that they had gotten involved with, and they had a graphic made, signed by students and sent off. So what we knew that model works, so we were going to stick to it. Because one thing that I don't think many people think about is how much more powerful a handwritten note is than 100 emails. So we knew that this could have a big impact, and we had a conversation as a class of what direction to go, and we chose to do a very painterly artistic approach because we knew that our target audience wasn't like some of the other pieces we've seen where it was to educate. What we were trying to do is we were trying to get attention from one person, and that was JB Pritzker. So we created, the students in my class, we all pitched different designs for things to create, and we decided that we were going to make me do it because I was the only one in AP Art at the time. And they gave me all their designs. I found things that were in common from each, and I put them all together, and I drew this up on my computer at night, just trying to get through it with all my homework. And we had our first batch, we had 1,000 postcards printed, all with my name on it, which I'm still kind of uncomfortable about because that's now JB Pritzker knows my name, and that's scary. And we sent 800 to JB Pritzker, signed by Pontiac High School students and by community members out and about in Bloomington Normal when we went to an Earth Day festival there, and that was a great experience. We also sent 100 to Tammy Duckworth and 100 to Dick Durbin, further pushing so that that message can not only come from the people, but can come from the top down. After that, after we had sent all those out, we were like, okay, well, what do we do now? So we bought another 1,000 and sent another 1,000 to my knowledge. And I can't speak to this too much, but we were able to get some response and indication that he noticed that his inbox was filled with my painting a lot. And that came in, I think, late spring, early summer. We kind of got the message that he had seen and heard all of the things the people were saying, and that we had made that impact.
Yeah, so we wrote up this letter to educators. So if anyone knows an educator or is in high school or middle school, and obviously we can send this to you too, based on the model developed by Pontiac High School by Olivia and her comrades. We really want that to go forward. We know that the politicians see these handwritten notes, not all of them, but we just heard it from Representative West's office. And obviously the smaller the office, the more likely they are to see it. So yeah, it would be real great if folks wanted to take that on as a project. Olivia, what are you doing now?
Right now I'm in college. I'm in my first semester at Illinois State University, so I'm
Go
doing that.
Redbirds.
And I'm trying to balance that with the other important things going on in the world. Being a student and being a engaged citizen is kind of hard, but I'm trying to make it a priority. So
Well, don't drink too much coffee. And thank you for existing and making the world more beautiful and more effective. Let's clap for Olivia, please, everyone, if you don't mind. Jazz hands, go Olivia. Thank you. I think Laura made this bee. Is that right?
No, this is a different bee. We've had multiple crocheted bees. This one is from some students from Southern Illinois University who did an Earth Day event and were, I think, raffling off these crocheted bees and flowers to raise money, which was super cool.
Those flowers, violet wood sorrel, maybe. All right, anyway, sorry. Click to the next one. Trying to ID crochet. Okay, so the last piece of art that we're sharing tonight, though it's certainly not the last piece of art that's been created around Bell Bowl, is by my friend and composer and artist, Ayanna Woods. And she wrote this chamber choir piece, there's her website, about Bell Bowl Prairie. And it was performed in Chicago in a church. And it sounds really beautiful. And so I want to talk to Ayanna first, and then we'll play the music. And Jillian, do we want to do like the action during the music thing?
Yeah, I think so. So we can talk to Ayanna and then we'll share the beauty.
Ayanna, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hi.
Hi, Ayanna.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my camera off today, but I'm really happy to be here. Yeah, I'm going to my great aunt's birthday this weekend, and so I'm doing my hair right now because otherwise I'll be roasted by 4 generations of my family.
We'll just pretend that you're talking to us like with the side of your face. So you wrote this piece. It's just for vocals, and it's to be performed in an echoey church-like environment. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
How do you do that? How do you write a piece knowing that it's going to be in a churchy type place?
I think, well, it's sort of a comfort zone for me because I've been singing in choir since I was very, very tiny. And so it's a sound that I'm really familiar with. And I was also thinking when I was writing it about what the sound world of the prairie would be, even though I couldn't physically go to Bell Bowl Prairie. I was trying really hard to research and like imagine it and then like sort of marry those two sound worlds.
The sound worlds of chamber choir, churchy time choir, with the sounds of Bell Bowl Prairie, of the prairie.
Mm-hmm.
So you used the human voice and this choir to mimic. What are some of the sounds that you glommed onto and you wanted people to sing?
Well, I was talking to one of my nature friends, and one thing that he said, because I at first was trying to do, I was on YouTube a lot listening to bird calls, and I was like, maybe I can try to get some bird calls in there. The bird calls that I found were extremely complicated, and I don't think humans would be able to pull them off, even slowed down. But after researching and like talking to some people, I realized that the insect sounds would be like the sound bed, the most prominent sound bed happening all the time, especially it was like fall already becoming fall at the time when I was really hunkering down writing this. And so I was hearing cicadas a lot of the time. And so that was a major element in it, was to sort of have a cicada call phasing in and out over the course of the piece.
Awesome. So because I want to make sure that we get to the boring part of the meeting, what we're going to do, Ayana, I'm going to share the lyrics, okay?
Yeah.
And if you have anything else that you think needs to be said, please tell us. But what we're going to do, so here are the lyrics, and I encourage you to read them. They're not long. I mean, I could read them to you as well. Prairie Smoke is the name of the piece, and it says, "You have to get close. Underground bees sleep in root cradles millennia made. Flowers burst into endless sky. You have to get close. Life explodes again, again, again when we set a fire. Weave this web entire, tall grass thread and time, rising slope and sky, prairie smoke and fire and fire and fire. We have to set fire." So those are the lyrics that cicadas will be singing in a second. And what we'll be doing too, while this is playing, is we like to have moments of action during these meetings. So if you like, we would love it if you would go on this link or go on your smartphones to the saveavailableprairie.org/how-you-can-help and pick an action that you can do right now during this meeting. And we're going to listen to this piece while that happens. Did you share the sound when you shared the screen, Jill?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Prairie Smoke by Ayana Woods.
I'm gonna pass out some postcards if you guys want to sign some postcards while we're listening to you.
sumptuous planet, everybody. Prairie Smoke by Ayana was. Ayana, could you tell me what you told me one of the singers told you? Can you tell everyone?
Yeah, one of the singers said that she had grown up around the prairie and that she could feel the prairie wind when she was singing it. And that just felt so beautiful and important to me, because I think I related to what Liz was saying about making art, and that I want it to be useful. And with music, I try to make it like songs that don't talk about doing the thing, songs that actually do the thing, which felt very overwhelming to do because of how deep and rich the prairie is, and the fact that I haven't physically been there. That felt very good to hear. They had an instruction, like half of the singers, to like every time they ran out of breath when they breathe in, to like audibly make like a wind sound. So I don't know how well that came out over Zoom, but that was also happening.
It's so good, and we can't share the link, right? But there are ways to get a hold of it if we can.
Yeah, you can email me.
Yeah, it's just it makes me feel real nice. So yeah, let's give it up for Ayana one more time. Clap it, clappity clap clap. And that's the end of the art piece, but I hope folks feel a little inspired to do some of this stuff, to do what you can. You don't have to write a chamber choir piece, but we bring our soul to this work, and there are lots of ways to do that. And so I'm just really grateful for everyone who's brought their whole selves to this fight. I yield the floor. I also muted the natural and okay, there we go.
One more time.
Thank you again to everybody who has made art, who's had their art featured here, who hasn't had their art featured here. Thank you to everyone. It's all been amazing. So we just had our action now. And so we can go to the next slide about taking action at some other point. So here are some ways that you can be involved in the next few days if you have some more energy and want to do some Belleville stuff. So on Friday and Saturday of this week, the 14th and 15th, is Rockford's art scene. So they're showcasing a bunch of local artists. And we are going to have some folks walking around downtown, passing out flyers, getting more postcards signed, featuring the giant bumblebee backpack. So if anyone is interested in joining us for one or both of those nights, feel free to let me know. We've also got on Monday is the Rockford City Council meeting, and also not listed on here, there's also McChesney Park Village Board meeting, and that's another one of the groups that, is that Paul outside? Can someone let Paul in, please? Okay, sorry, Paul's just lurking at the window. Okay, that's good. I think he's speaking next, so I'm glad he's here. That was really scary for a second, sorry. Anywho, Rockford City Council meeting is at 5:30, and the McChesney Park Village Board meeting is at 6. Those are two bodies that are in charge of appointing members to the Rockford Airport Board. And so we would really like annoying them as much as we can. You can go and sign up to speak, and you can say, hey, we're with Belleville Prairie. We think it's cool, and we think you should do more to help protect it. You can go with just a sign and some friends and pass out flyers if you want. There's all kinds of great ways that you can make more people aware of Belleville Prairie. And then October 27th, which is in a few weeks, on a Thursday at 5 p.m. is the Rockford Airport Board meeting. And that will be just about the 1-year anniversary of when we got our first Prairie Save moment. So we're gonna have a bit of a celebration, really short, just probably 15 minutes before the board meeting, where we gather and celebrate everything that we've done in the last year that have gotten us to this point where we can still say that Belleville Prairie exists, when at this time last year, we didn't know if we were going to be able to say that. And so that's a huge accomplishment, and we deserve to celebrate that.
And what time is that meeting?
That's gonna be at 4:45 at 60 Airport Drive, which is also where the Rockford board meeting takes place. Or where the airport board meeting takes place.
Don't sit down, Paul. You're up here.
I might be speaking next.
I'm standing next to Julian.
Yes.
You can stand in replacement of me.
Oh, okay.
This is perfect timing.
What am I doing?
Talking about the meetings with elected
Oh.
officials.
Yes. And the dogs are fed and watered.
There we go.
Not too long, Paul.
Absolutely, won't be long. Do you know who Carrie Lee is, our executive director? Okay,
No,
no,
no.
Carrie is our executive director for Natural
National
Land, Land Institute.
She's in the phone. Okay.
And
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, we went to the Illinois Environmental Council Annual Awards Dinner in Chicago, which is a nice way to celebrate good things that have occurred. The speaker at the event was Governor Pritzker. We've been trying to get a little bit of time with him for months, and we pounced, which is really nice. He obviously was aware of Belleville Prairie. He said that he would have someone on the staff look into the situation more than he had so far. The fact that he acknowledged it and spoke in a supportive way was very thrilling to me. Also didn't hurt that Miss America was there, but anyways. The other person who was there that I really liked, former Mayor Doug Scott, who happened to go through grade school in one of my younger sister's class. So I've known Doug forever and 10, and I haven't seen him in years. So we had a nice conversation. He was head of the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency for a while. He hasn't had that position for a bit, but he has a consulting firm now that works with the Illinois governmental agencies. And hopefully he sneaks a word in for us while he's working with other people that we need to have on our side. But the governor's reaction was very good. He's holding a book about prairies that the author, Michael
McDonald.
Thank you, wrote a nice little bit in for the governor. So we finally got attention there. Carrie has been more successful with our senators, but this was our foray into talking to the governor.
And the Rockford City Council?
Rockford City Council. You have my 3 minutes. They were, pardon?
I was just gonna say one of them is here, over in Rose.
You were dressed like that.
He was trying to be incognito.
Alderman Rose, who now has a Belleville Prairie sign in his yard.
Woo!
And Alderman Bonnie, who happens to be mine, and I know a little bit socially on the side. Very supportive, but what I liked was the expressions on the faces of the whole aldermanic crew. You know, nodding. I neglected to watch Mayor McNamara, which was a oversight on my part, but the alderman body language was fantastic. And hopefully there's going to be a resolution discussed at the legislative committee of council, which then would be voted on by the entire city council, and then would say, hey, airport, we have the Rockford appoints 3 of the 7 commissioners at the airport. So almost half. And if the city council says, we don't want you plowing it, and these commissioners represent our interests, that would be a really big thing. I've spoke to the Winnebago County Board, and they appoint 2 of the 7. And it was sort of a meh reaction from them, except for one of the people on the board who took information, said he was going to look into it more. So I didn't get kicked out the door there, but I'm very grateful for you and Mark for what you're doing. That's fantastic. Yes.
When you say they're gonna look into it, do you think they mean they're gonna study the alternative that you guys have been proposing all along?
I don't
Is
think,
that what it means?
I don't think it's going to be that far. I think he's going to look into the political committee support. Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take if the governor gets his nose in on it, that's how the governor was what saved the prairie 60 years ago.
Which governor was that?
Shapiro. And yeah, it was a phone call to the airport director.
Wow. that's
Governors do
awesome.
have some clout.
Little bit.
Yeah, more than you? Well, gosh, wonderful timing.
Yeah, I was like, who is that looking outside there?
We had a board meeting and my dogs needed to eat and go outside, and my son got married on Saturday.
Okay.
So I had to feed them and they needed to go outside.
Long story short, it was perfect timing. Thank you, Paul. Okay, so now into the really not very fun part. Consultation, which is a big word that basically just means the FAA, which governs the airport, they have to talk with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources and US Fish and Wildlife Service because this project could have an impact on endangered species at the state and federal levels. So they have to write up these reports and say, this is what I'm going to do to make sure that my work has a minimal impact on these species. And then they send it out to these bodies, and IDNR and US Fish and Wildlife Service has to review those before the airport can start construction again. So the important thing to know, though, is that both IDNR and US Fish and Wildlife Service don't actually have the power to say, no, you can't do this project, build it somewhere else, which is really unfortunate. There's a saying that's been going around that our laws aren't designed to protect the environment, they're designed to regulate its destruction. And that really basically sums up this whole process. So the current laws, even though this is a hyper rare ecosystem, we don't have laws that protect ecosystem at that level. It's just the individual species. And IDNR and US Fish and Wildlife Service, basically their process after they review it is they can give suggestions to the airport on ways to mitigate the damage that they do to these species. But in the end, they will say that, like, yes, you can go ahead and build your road here. So our update for the state level consultation process is that the airport has applied for something called an incidental take permit, which basically says they're submitting an application that says, when we do our construction, we might accidentally damage a state endangered species. Is that okay with you guys? And IDNR basically has to say, yes, that's okay. Thanks for letting us know. But they haven't said that yet. So it's technically still pending. And the airport has agreed not to do construction until they get that permit. But there's also the possibility that the airport takes that permit back and says, actually, we don't think there are any endangered species. We're going to take this permit back. And then they don't have to get any approval from the state. But if they don't do that, which we're hoping they don't, they would have to be approved, which adds another delay to when they can start construction again. And then there will also be a 30-day public comment period, which will be a really important time for us to be like pounding our message into anyone who will listen about how there's an easy fix to this. We don't have to choose airport or Prairie, all that kind of stuff. And there's a link here where you can go to be notified once that permit is either accepted or revoked by the airport. So if you want to be notified about that, you can click on that link and sign up for that. All right, we can go to the next slide. And then for US Fish and Wildlife consultation, which is the federal process, basically we don't have any updates different from our last meeting. The ball, so to speak, is in the court of the Federal Aviation Administration, because they submit this big biological assessment to Fish and Wildlife Service and said, we think this project will probably do harm to the rusty patch bumblebee. And US Fish and Wildlife looked at it and they were like, well, you talk about all these mitigation steps that you're going to take. You're not going to do construction during the foraging season. You're going to plant prairie somewhere else. Why do you think that's still going to harm it? So they basically sent that back to the FAA saying, like, are you sure that that's the argument you want to be taking here? And FAA hasn't responded yet. So that's another thing that's delaying the airport's construction process, is that they have to wait until the FAA responds to US Fish and Wildlife and then US Fish and Wildlife approves it, which are more things that haven't happened yet, which is great for us. And they also asked for some clarification about what their like conservation mitigation strategies are, because they don't make a ton of sense, but yeah, fun stuff. All right, I will pass it over to Carrie Lee to talk about the legal situation.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for attending. Actually, the October 27th meeting at the Airport Authority is the 1 year to date when we filed the lawsuit. Was on October 27th last year. And so far it's worked. It hasn't changed the route of the road yet. However, it has delayed the project for a year. We now have, from the August 31st hearing, we have confirmation from all of the agencies that when they hear from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and they have authority to go ahead and bulldoze, that they will give us notice, advance notice, which means that we then have an opportunity to file an injunction. It's called injunctive relief. We have the opportunity to file injunction to stop it right away and to resubmit in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. So we're getting all of our materials ready to do that submission. And we're thinking that we have a little bit of an extended period now because it's difficult because we don't have a date. It's just when the consultation process is completed. So I just wanted everybody to know that once that consultation process is completed, and the expectation is that they're going to be getting approval to do the road, we will be submitting in the Seventh Circuit.
Can you talk just a little louder?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
My hearing is.
We will be submitting in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals as soon as they get approvals from their consultation processes. Now, what's really important for this group is because we had geosyntech engineers do the analysis of the design alternatives that the airport had done and submitted to U.S. Fish and Wildlife in their biological assessment. Our engineers determined that if they combined two of their own design alternatives, that they would be able to have everything that they wanted in their expansion, as well as protect the prairie. So we then took that information and went to Senator Durbin's office. Their office has a staff member who works on appropriations, which means he helps communities get money to do projects from the federal government. So Senator Durbin's office is ready and waiting to work with the airport on an appropriation to get funding to redesign the road and funding for federal funding also for construction. So the stick is that we will be continuing on with the lawsuit in the Court of Appeals. The carrot is that they will get all this federal funding if they agree to redesign the road. So it's the sticking point, however, is that we cannot ask for that. The airport has to ask for the appropriation. Senator Durbin's staff is sitting and waiting. They said they will work with the airport on working on their budget, how much money they need, etc. So our push at the moment is to get pressure to have the airport apply for this federal appropriation. Because why should we keep holding this airport expansion up? They might as well get what they want. It's a win-win. and we get to save the prairie. We did talk to Durbin's office and said, we're only willing to support this if they also agree to permanently protect and manage the prairie. So that's the caveat.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm gonna stop you there, Carrie. Thank you. We've got, I think, one more slide, and that is to Amy.
Thanks, Jillian. And really, this is the challenging thing that we're all dealing with. It was easier a little bit last fall. There was more urgency with a concrete deadline when we knew that the prairie could be destroyed on November 1st, and that's what they had said. And now there is a date of October 15th was the earliest that they would destroy the prairie, but that was based on foraging season for the rusty patch bumblebee. That date will come and go on Saturday, and the prairie, we believe, will still be there because they're still waiting for this consultation process to wrap up. So we know that the delay will continue, and so we will continue to keep all of you updated with emails and social media and Facebook as things progress. Unfortunately, we can't say that there is a deadline, and so we just ask that people continue to stay in touch and continue to be active and show up. And the longer that we delay, the more people get to learn about the importance of Bell Bowl Prairie and to influence those people who can make the decision.
Beautiful. And that is all we have prepared, everybody. So if we had some questions in the chat that haven't been answered yet, we can talk over those, or if there's questions in the room and folks want to stick around. I know are we at exactly, it's 8:01 now. Okay, I'm gonna say that exactly.
I did have a question about this weekend. If people are going to make the trek to Rockford that are out of town to advocate for the prairie, to be a part of Art Scene, is there a particular meeting time and location for that on Friday or Saturday, or should people watch for social media? How does that, since that's the next couple of days, how should people find out about that?
Yes, so I unfortunately have to work during part of it, but I will be there at 5:30 with the giant bumblebee on Friday and Saturday. So if folks want to plan to meet at 5:30, we can. I was thinking someplace that has a decent amount of parking is in front of the Rockford Roasting Company on Main Street, which if you reach out to me, send me an email, I can send you the address for that more specifically than just this place on Main Street. And then we can plan to meet there and pass out some stuff and walk around with cool bees.
Point of clarification that someone asked in chat is we are waiting, the GRAA are supposed to notify us within a week when they're going to start construction again. Is that true?
So they have to notify us immediately that they get authorization.
As soon as they get authorization, they have to notify us.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I have a comment about the Prairie watchdogs. Should I come up there?
Yeah, come on up. Microphone. We've got one over here and over here.
Okay.
And
Great. I was gonna make a social media post about this soon, but just since everybody's kind of together. Just a little bit, no, a little bit back. Behind the podium.
Okay, I'll go where Jillian was.
There we go.
All right,
So I'm gonna make a social media post about this as well, but since everybody's all together right now, we are gonna resume our Prairie Watchdogs. We were doing this a lot in the previous year, and we kind of simmered down as things kind of, you know, settled down a little bit too. But now that things could possibly be imminent, we are gonna have a sign-up sheet once again to monitor the Prairie. All it really takes is driving by the Prairie, you know, once a day or something like that, whenever you can, and just notifying me, and then I would notify Natural Land Institute if there was any construction equipment moving on the Prairie, just so that we know that everything is safe, and if there was anything in action, we can also respond immediately. So if you have any questions about that, certainly reach out to me, but I will post on our Facebook group too about that, more information. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jesse.
I have a question, just a point of clarification. I heard Carrie say that they had to notify us immediately when they could start construction. And I've also heard it's going to be at least 60 days before construction. Are both of those true?
Did you guys hear that question?
We have, just to clarify, the 60 days, we have 60 days to put in our appeal to the 7th Circuit. But they are going to be notifying us immediately that they receive the notice.
And once they receive the notice, can they start construction immediately?
Yeah, that's why we're going to be ready to go with an injunction.
And how do we know if they will notify us immediately? I mean, I'm concerned about that.
Yeah, that's what we've got. Their lawyers have said that they will, but then we also have the Prairie Watchdogs in case they don't.
And also, I think, you know, some people are in conversations with the regulatory agencies. So we'll know when that's coming down the pike.
I don't trust him.
Yeah, this would be a lot easier if we were working with a trustworthy body.
So are you saying that the injunction will be teed up and ready to file immediately? Like
Yeah.
the second act?
Yes, we're getting it ready now.
What's in it for the Rockford Airport people to trash this thing that is perfect, which is God's creation, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
This is how I roll. But
Well, if you left.
yeah.
Yeah, so
what's in it for them to trash it? I mean,
it goes back to, they have this really long, like 20-year design plan that they set out in, I think, 2013 or something like that. But basically, in the long term, they want to add another complete runway on the airport property. And so if they were to do the logical thing and just put like a road that doesn't go anywhere near the Prairie, that would impede on this future design plan that they have to have a runway. But that runway plan hasn't undergone any type of environmental assessment. It would require them to buy up an entire neighborhood with like businesses and houses and things like that. They don't even own all the property that they would need for it yet. But they're still making design plans as if they're going to do that. And so that's why this road has to go in this area at all. And so they're saying that like, well, it's the only logical place it can go because we have these design plans that would take up all this other space, but those plans don't technically exist yet.
And frankly, they dug in their heels. They just dug in their heels. And they don't want to compromise or even discuss it. That's a problem.
Yeah, if anybody would like to speak at.
well, what is the average Rockford or Winnebago County person? I mean, because I'm not from here. So what is are the people who live around here, how aware are they of what's going on?
It definitely depends on the type of person. I mean, we still go to city council meetings and Rockford events, and there are people who are like, what's that? I've never heard of that before, even though, you know, we've been out here for a year doing this. But then there's other times where I was like walking down the street last night holding a Belleville Prairie sign and 3 people were like, nice sign. So it just kind of depends what kind of sub-community people are in, whether or not they're tapped into this or not, which is definitely something we need to work on, is getting everyone engaged, not just people who are already interested in environmental politics and things like that.
So when we did the Boone County Fair, that was really good because we got so many people interested in it. And we were also blown away by how many people knew about it.
It's good.
Well, do you think we should have a table at art scene somewhere, even if it's out on the street where we have information?
Bring the bee, bring the giant bee.
Yeah, the giant bee is gonna be there. Because art scene is such like a coordinated effort, they kind of have it all set up already for areas that anywhere there could be a table that someone would use, there already is. So that's why we figured it would be easier to just have folks walking around all night. That way we can also, if there's a big group, we can split up. Some people go north and other people go south and things like that. But I might also stop into some of the small businesses downtown that have been supportive of us and see if they want like a stack of flyers to hold by their register or something like that.
The mayor's wife, I'm sorry, go ahead. The mayor's wife at Gem is having a show, so it might make sense to stop in there. There's a lot of supportive artists who are gonna be showing in there too.
Nice.
Well, she's also at the Swedish Historical Society Horticultural Center, so I'll see if we can get a sign in their yard. But we should take signs to every art scene location and say, would you have this idea? And just have it somewhere during this event and see if they would.
You know, these people at the airport, these guys who want to build their second runway, they have no idea of the importance. It's just completely, they have no conception of the importance of what they're about to destroy. Or what they're planning to destroy.
Well, can you come to the airport meeting and talk? Because you sound like you could maybe express it.
We'll come to the airport meeting
And you're a
and talk.
man, which would help a lot.
Well, yeah, because this is like, you know,
Yeah.
there's not much left. There's not much left. You know, we've got John Deere and Henry Ford and Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. That's what we got creating today.
Yeah.
The original creator, not much of his stuff is left. It hasn't been completely screwed up.
Yeah, I mean, we've had people break down in tears talking about the importance of remnant prairies to them in front of the airport board meeting before. We've had students and we've had people who have lived in the community for their whole lives, who have worked here for 60 years. And, you know, they technically have to sit there and they have to be there as you talk, but they don't have to listen to you. They don't have to look at you. They can kind of spin around in their swirly chairs.
And 300 years from now, we'll be lumped in with the witch burners.
Right.
But that's
Our
what we're fighting.
society.
My favorite one was when a teacher came to address the board and the executive director turned around in his chair, so his back was to her, and she said, "Young man, you turn around and pay attention when I'm talking to you." And he had to turn around and listen to the rest of her when she said, it was very enlightening.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. I mean, I recently was at a couple of board meetings in Skokie, Illinois, and they wanted to put up one of those Carvana towers that birds were gonna fly into. And these guys, they just had their minds made up and they weren't listening to anything.
Right. You don't get it.
It was sickening.
Real quick, from a government perspective, I think everything that you are doing it right. Because you're doing it in a respectful fashion, but you're also advocating for something that it just makes sense to say, right? You're 100% right. And like, this makes absolutely no sense that you would take out a remnant prairie, one of the last ones in the country, in an ecosystem that is just so important to preserve. And when I think about growing up and we talked about saving the Amazon, right? Like that was the story of me growing up and saving the Amazon. But never did I think or realize that there would be something of an Amazon-esque project here in my life, in my backyard, saying, this is something we need to save. And so continue to engage them, continue to hold the airport board, the city council, the Winnebago County. But I would also encourage people to write to some of those government bodies, the IDNR, those other ones that are going to be making those decisions, because they may impact that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it's important to at least get those agencies to see the importance of those. But you also have to remember that there are some extremely powerful people that can be bullyish. And there are a lot of people that are scared in government that do not want to step into this kind of arena with them because of their power.
Yeah.
And that's why you're seeing people that are disengaged. That's why you're seeing the newspaper not cover this as much as they should be. That's why you're seeing people stay silent on this issue. And I'll just say this is, you know, as a local politician, I have very little to lose at this point. I have made some terrible personal mistakes in my life. I don't know if politics is in it for me in the long run, but I do know that this Prairie is worth saving, and it's something that is gold. This is our gold for our community, and it's definitely worth fighting for, and getting your friends and family to understand the importance of this and to continue to engage in a polite and just amazing fashion in what you guys have already done.
Yeah.
Everything that Alderman Rose says is absolutely correct. I was in county government for way too long, and part of the problem is after we went through a Rust Belt experience in this community, everything was about economic development, and that we need to bring every kind of economic development to this community we can so we can survive, because we're losing our industrial base. So, I mean, that became, you know, like the clarion call that just went forward through every government forever, and that economic development was at all costs. You know, Prairie, forget it. You know, we need these jobs, and it's just a mindset now. It's really hard to present any kind of information that causes people to think otherwise.
Jillian?
Yes.
Those of us who are on Zoom can't tell who's speaking because they're sitting and they're not introducing themselves and they're not on camera. So if perhaps whoever the last two speakers who just spoke, if we could know who they are so they're not unknown Zoomers, that would be great.
Yeah. Do you guys want to come up and show your faces?
Or they can you can just
say
who they are.
Say your name.
Oh, so I was speaking earlier. My name is Bill Rose. I'm a local alderman that sits on the city council.
Thanks, Bill. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Judy Barnard, and I was on the county board for 17 years and worked part-time in their economic development department for 3 years. So I see the other point of that also. I don't agree with it.
Hi, Judy. Thank you. The questions were just popping up on Zoom. Who's talking?
I'm just really good at, what's that thing where like, you have
your request.
Yeah. I do
change your voice well then.
Mhm.
I mean, more and more, you know, people are realizing that economic development hinges on quality of life.
Right.
And who you attract to Rockford, there's almost an ambience that you grow, or an atmosphere. And if you know, Rockford is known as like decimating. I mean, it's just going to be another, you know, like Cleveland, what did they do to their lakefront? They destroyed it. And poor Cleveland, you know, it suffers from that image to this day. I'm sure they've got some nice places, but it's not on that beautiful lake.
Yeah.
How about Save the Prairie? Put a kiosk or some display in terminal where people from all over the world will be walking by and saying, look what we did. We saved this.
Yeah. I mean, they could be latching on to like sustainable airport design, ecotourism. There are so many opportunities for the airport to spin it and reverse it and make themselves the heroes, because we're still willing to do that. We're willing to be like, yes, you did this. Congratulations. Thanks, Rockford Airport, like in those ads that they're playing, which I think are so funny.
Make them a hero.
Yeah.
Make them right. And then do a Memphis airport, did fill the airport terminal with artwork that's based on the Prairie, or photographs and things.
They're asking for your name.
Me?
Zoom people.
Oh, I'm Chris Monahan. from Chicago.
Good to meet you, Chris.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, most airports, when you go there, they do showcase like what are the attributes of the area, but in Rockford Airport, it's all the places you can get out of Rockford, you know?
And then one giant sock monkey.
Yeah, we can really highlight the attributes.
Yeah. Not everyone goes, oh yeah. go ahead.
So I have leadership on like my environmental club. What actions do like we take as like a club or like with other organizations?
Yeah, that's a super good question. So we have like our postcard campaign that we can send you guys the like designs so that you can print some postcards if you wanted to, and let us know if you need help covering cost of that or like cost of postage or anything. And you can get like students at your school to sign on. You can take them to local events, just kind of walk around and say, hey, sign this. That's kind of intimidating, but if you guys can do it, that's really good.
Yeah.
And definitely show up at the airport meeting. We need bodies that just.
Like what's far? I don't know who would go. Like,
Yeah.
drive an hour.
Yeah. And they're at 5 p.m. too, which is like the most inconvenient time to have.
You may not think you would make an impact. This is Alderman Rose again, but to drive an hour and a half, and I know you drove in from Chicago, but those are the people that need to show up at the airport board, because you're gonna show them, I drove an hour to save a Prairie. And you guys can be the heroes. I mean, that's gonna get people to come to the airport to utilize it and to show how important it is. Rockford, you know, I can drive 15 minutes and show up, that's great, but when you have people showing up from all throughout the Midwest and the country saying, hey, I drove here an hour, 2 hours to talk about this because it matters to me, that speaks loudly. And someone of your age who's young and saying, I want to preserve this for my family in the future, I think that's a very big message to send. So something, you may not think that you're relevant right now, but you are, and showing up to a meeting like that.
And even if the airport board doesn't listen to you, all the people in the audience will be listening to you. And we can always like record your talk and then share that on social media, which has a really big impact too. So I don't know, I hate bringing up that the airport board doesn't listen to you, because that's like really discouraging and like, why would I want to address the board? But it's not really about talking to them and changing their minds, because that's a really hard thing to do. And in the past year, we haven't managed to do it. So it's a lot of pressure to put on 3 speakers for 5 minutes each. But it's more about just showing them that like, we're still going to be that thorn in their side, and we're going to make their board meetings go an extra 15 minutes longer than they otherwise would, because they haven't saved this Prairie yet. And so we're going to have people show up with our fancy signs, and we're going to glare at them the whole time. And it's going to be great. It's a good time.
Just tell them like,
As a
you
parent.
older people, that's fine, but I'm young. I'm gonna be around a long, long time, longer than you. And
Remind
this
them
is
of
what I want. Tell them that.
Absolutely.
As a parent, though, that's gonna make it really late on school night.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's Judy again. This is the last time I'll say anything, but I'm so impressed with the organizations and the media nationwide that have come out in support of this. But that's not really visible here in Rockford, and I don't know how we can make that visible, but even if we had a long banner that just listed all the people that are supporting this, because it's a very impressive list. I mean, I was blown away when I read it, and
Yeah.
I mean, people need to realize that the eyes of this country are on us. It's not just, you know, a few little environmental groups, you know, that are
That's a really
concerned about
That
this.
should be
Yeah.
made to the board, to the airport
And I
council.
don't know how you do that. But
Yeah, we do have-
smarter than me to figure that out, would be good.
If you send me the list, I will read it off at city council.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done that at an airport board meeting, and it was one of my favorite ones because we had someone read it, but you're only allowed 5 minutes to speak, and it was the letter and also the 130 or so organizations that have signed on to it. So they press their little alarm and they bang their gavel and they're like, you're done, you're done, you're done. The next person gets up, continues reading
Oh, I love
it.
it.
It was really great.
I get all the time I want.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I had a friend who just reached out to me who lives in Pennsylvania and was like, I was just reading my National Wildlife Magazine, and front page is a story about Belleville Prairie. And I was like, I know them. That's so cool. So, yeah, this I wish the airport board knew how big of an impact they are having on everyone's unhappiness.
I don't know who it was that said, Balboa has made the airport famous. And if they're not careful, it's gonna make them infamous.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
That's really good.
Or maybe, like you were saying, Judy, just have that big old banner at the next airport meeting with all the names. They have it really big so they can see every single one. If it stretches 100 feet, doesn't matter. Just, and even, you know, you could even put eyes on it, you know. Eyes on it. And the last thing to say is that I just opened the latest issue of National Wildlife. Did you see? They've got the main article here is on Bell Bowl.
Yeah.
That's a nationwide and venerable old organization.
Front cover.
What, front cover? Yep.
Yeah. It's big stuff. You guys are making moves just by being in the room. Proud of you all.
Famous or infamous? That's great. Awesome.
I
Well,
think I was the one who said the famous infamous thing. I don't remember what it was, but I'll try to find it for you.
What was it?
Whoa.
Yeah, nice row.
Can you repeat that?
Meredith asked if you could repeat it.
Repeat the line.
yeah, do you want to say it again, Pat?
I don't, I mean, he probably said it, but it was like Balboa Prairie has made Rockford Airport famous, and let's hope it doesn't make them infamous. And you could have said that.
Thank you.
So don't quote me.
All right, I think we will wrap up. We've got a list of all the chats, so if there's questions in there we didn't get to answer, we can follow up about those. And we can always keep having discussions in the room too, if folks are interested. But we are at 8:25, and I think that is a good time to officially say good night. So thank you guys all for coming, and I hope to see you at some events, especially the board meeting, because I love glaring at those guys, and I hope you do too.
Oh, yes.
It's so